Okay, so we're actually gonna do the introduction this week. 'Cause I forgot last week.
The introduction?
Yeah, we just kind of like blew into it. We're in big trouble.
Yeah, we
but-
do that. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, introduce us, Brian.
Oh, okay. Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Post Credits Podcast. My name is Brian Schoof. Over there is Mr. Matt Peppler. How we doing, buddy?
I'm great, as always.
Good to hear
I'm
it.
ready to talk about some movies.
Yeah.
A movie. Just one. We don't talk, yeah.
The final girl. You're
Yeah.
just ready to talk about the one, not the final girls.
Well, we can talk about all of it.
I feel like that could have
I'm
been an
getting-
Aliens kind of sequelization there, but I don't know if they ever planned to make a sequel for this, because they definitely like leave that door, like you could drive a semi truck through it. It's so open, but then again, it might just
Yeah.
be the way that they intended to end it too. It kind of works both ways.
Yeah, it does. It seems like you like the movie, which this is going to be an interesting conversation because I'm glad that there's not another sequel or
Yeah.
not another movie of this ilk.
Of this ilk,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
this foul creation.
I had a hard time with this movie, man. Hard time. Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as I thought, considering all the hype. I mean, I didn't
That's
dislike
valid.
it, but it was very like it's got a lot of positive buzz around it. What was the Rotten Tomatoes at? It was in the 80s, wasn't
It's 74-69. So 74
it?
critic,
Okay,
69 audience.
that's pretty high.
Listen, everything is pointing to me liking this movie. Everything like that, like you could read the description. I'm like, hey, that sounds right up my alley. This
Mhm.
sounds like it's a home run. And it was just like a foul ball after foul ball. And then like I struck out, So like, man, I feel like I'm going to be a savage to this. I don't want to be, but like, my notes are pretty negative, and I didn't find too many things that I liked about it. I had very much like Babysitter vibes with the last viewing that I had of the Babysitter, but to like a worse extent. There's a lot of things that I didn't like, just kind of like surface level stuff. It doesn't really make a difference. Like I didn't like all the text on the screen that kept popping up, like the jokes of stuff. But that's like I said, surface level.
Oh,
That's
and Babysitter,
nitpicky.
yeah.
Well, and in this one, they're like 12 minutes later. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. That's cool. I get it.
Hmm.
It's a funny joke. That's kind of the running problem that I have is like the thing of like this movie's trying so hard to be funny. It's like, look how funny we're being. Shouldn't you laugh at how funny we're being? These jokes are funny and you should laugh at our jokes. It's just like too much for me. And it's like whenever that happens in anything, in any movie or anything, I kind of have a knee-jerk reaction to go against that and to kind of like push away from that. And it seemed like that's kind of what kept happening in Final Girls. We can go into
It's
deeper
kind of
things.
it's kind of try hardy.
Yeah.
Because this might be sacrilege, but that's why like I could never get on board with Donnie Darko. Was
Interesting.
I like you could practically hear the disc straining with effort because it was so intent on being part of like
the cool kids.
the cool kids, yeah, but it just felt like really sort of pretentious, and that I don't know, I just found that off-putting, even though I like the concept of it.
It didn't hit me with Donnie Darko, but I can understand like why people would say that and why you would say that,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of pretentious garbage in Donnie Darko, a fair amount, I think would be an understatement. But it didn't rub me the wrong way like this one did,
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah.
So
And I also hated the tiki mask. Let's just get that out of the way.
yeah, that was kind of
Damn
dumb, wasn't it?
Yeah, the tiki mask, man. Like, I just keep thinking of the tropics and like pina coladas and shit like that whenever I see that mask, and it just takes me out of like, you know, trying to make this seem like a horror movie. You
Well,
know,
it
when you're
wasn't
looking at the killer and his mask and you're
motivated,
like,
right?
yeah,
Where it's not like, oh, here's this Olmec revenge mask that brought him back to life or something. You know, like there's no
right,
connection there other
nope,
than they just were really trying to do something to get away from Jason Voorhees, even though it's totally Jason Voorhees.
yes, yes. And it's like, yeah. I keep the comparison I keep making is, have you seen the Fear Street trilogy on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix?
Yeah.
This feels like a predecessor to that, but Fear Street refined it, you know, because even in like the 70s version, when it's clearly Camp Crystal Lake,
Mm-hmm.
they were on the nose and also trying to be something different, but it wasn't so annoying, right? And to the point where they even like the slasher had a like a knapsack on his head, like in Friday the 13th Part 2, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, yeah, you can make those references and still make it a little different. And people can still get the reference. And I just think that like doing this, the way that they did it, is gathering like a too much attention to the fact that they were trying to distance themselves. Does that make sense? Like we're gonna reference all of Friday the 13th, but we want you to know that we're not referencing all of Friday the 13th by making this mask different, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with any of that. It kind of reminded me of, did you ever watch American Dad?
no. I mean, I've
There
seen some things.
there was one episode where the kid, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a total nerd. He goes to get revenge on the cool people, and he has like some, like, I don't know, Native American Aztec revenge mask or something like that. Because
Okay.
like the thing is that like he's such a nerd that he can't even get revenge in a cool way. So
Yeah.
he researches it, so he's got the appropriate revenge deity mask because he's going after these people.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
that reminded me of when yeah, because it kind of pulled me out there a little bit. But yeah, I didn't care for the mask. Although, you know, there was one thing, just to give it another tertiary connection to Friday the 13th. Uh, you saw Never Hike Alone.
Yeah. Yep.
One thing that I liked that they did here, they tried to do it in Never Hike Alone with the footsteps, where like Jason had
Yeah.
these big, and it always sounded like a car door slamming shut
In Never Hike Alone.
in Never Hike Alone. Yeah,
It's so baseful. It's like thunderclap, thunderclap. You
it's
know, like
really overdone. And
yeah,
they did that here, but it was like they had a better sound designer
right,
do that.
right. Yeah, like it sounds beefy, like a heavy person walking, but
Hmm.
not like the god of thunder taking a stroll through the forest. You know, it's a difference. You know, it's
Uh-huh.
you want people to sound like they're walking, but not creating seismic shifts in tectonic or whatever, like the plates, tectonic
Tectonic
plates.
plates. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Well,
like we
it's
don't need
like
it. We don't need a new mountain over here,
it didn't
Jason.
matter if he was walking on like a wooden porch or the ground or gravel. It was the same, like
Yeah.
just car doors slamming. But enough picking on that movie. Back to picking on this movie. The
Yeah.
the car stuff in the beginning looked really CG.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah,
the
I mean
whole
like
thing was CG.
not you know, and like not to shit on shit, but like it looks like this is early 2000s level, you know, like CG, you
Hmm.
know, and okay, there's an argument that's like, it's not that big of a budget, but you know, it does take you out of the movie. Very CG, especially when the car tumbles, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering if the choice was made to do the whole thing that way because of the crash not, you know what I mean, to like blend the two of them
Yeah.
together. Because if you went from like real footage to that, it would obviously stick out like a sore thumb. But if the whole thing was that, I don't know, maybe that was just the plan all along.
Yeah, it could be. Speaking of the same scene, though, this bothers me kind of in any driving scene. The driving, like we're driving straight, but I'm turning the steering wheel a lot. I got to make my hands look like they're doing something because acting, you know. And I'll tell you what, like most of my cars have had like a pretty sensitive steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And if I moved it up like 3 inches or down 3 inches, like this actress was doing in this car scene, you're definitely colliding with something to the left or right of you. You're definitely changing lanes. But this is not straight driving, you know, like turning your wheel driving straight is not like you can have minor adjustments. I'm just saying, like, let's tone down the movement of the steering wheel when you're driving straight. When acting in movies, showing the steering wheel,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing where they're playing video games and just smashing all the buttons at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I put these moves on you. I don't even know what the fuck you're doing. So
just discovered God code somehow on accident.
Yeah. Okay. And then another gripe that I have, right? Now, I understand that this is like a comedy movie. We're supposed to be like turning tropes and stereotypes on its side, like other movies that have done it great. You know, Scream, Drag Me to Hell, the Fear Street movies. There's another one, Cabin in the Woods. Oh, shining examples of, you know, doing that. But like, they all explain all those other movies, like why things are happening the way that they are, you know, and they do it in a great way in all those examples. But this one, there's just fucking magic whiskey that allows them to go into the movie. Like the whiskey gets dropped by some guy fucking smoking in a theater, which would drive me up the wall. If someone lit up a cigarette in the theater that I was watching a movie in, I'd be pretty pissed, you know. But
let
anyway,
alone a cigar.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a cigar too, which those fucking stink, right? So before okay, yeah, I'll just explain what happens. He's drinking whiskey and he drops it. The whiskey bottle rolls all the way down the floor of the movie theater, right? And then comes to rest underneath a curtain. And then there's like alcohol dripping everywhere. And then that same douche drops the cigar onto the liquor and the cinema erupts in flames. And then without any further explanation, they're just in the movie. Her and her friends are just inside the movie.
They can't get out of the theater.
Yeah.
Which the whole reason that they're there, Max, the main character, her mother was an actress in this movie. Her mother died in the car crash that we were just picking on for being overly CG. So she attends this anniversary screening. The whole theater lights on fire. They can't get out because there's a wall of flames. Oh, but there's an exit behind the screen, so they cut through the screen, and that's when they enter the movie. So
magic fire whiskey brings unsuspecting reality people into a movie, you know, like by the way, Duncan, her friend, like, I'm sorry, but like the mom got killed in a horrible car crash, and then you blackmail your friend, the daughter of the person that was killed in the horrible car crash, to be at your fucking movie showing of the dead actress Friday the 13th movie. You blackmail her because she's a poor student. And you're like, if you show up, I'll do your fucking homework for the show for the rest of the year so you can actually go to college or something, whatever. That's such a shitty person. Like, that is That is awful. That is the
Yeah.
worst type of person. So like I'm already like, you can see this is like in the first like 10 minutes. So it's already setting me up to like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Hmm.
This is I'm not even how do I follow this? How do I follow along with this? You know, it just seems like it's so convoluted and why things are happening is unexplained. But yeah, they're in the movie now. So the movie's reality.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great friend group. Because yeah, Duncan kind of gets on under your skin there.
Yeah.
Um, then there's the mean girl.
Yeah. Is an Adderall addict. Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Cool.
I'm
I
not
mean, sure, it happens. You know.
I'm not quite sure what to make of Gertie, other than she's one of those people who is just kind of like, well, everyone else sucks, but doesn't really contribute anything to like not sucking herself, you know?
Right. She just sucks by proxy.
But it's she just you know what I mean? Like there's certain people that just have that attitude where it's just like, well, they suck and they suck and you suck and everything sucks, and it's just like,
Oh yeah.
okay, well, what are you doing that's better, like to put better
Yeah.
out in the world besides just
Right.
bitching about it, everything constantly?
Yeah. 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 You suck and you suck. Well, what about you? Yeah. No one. Oh, did you think that this mom looked not like a mom at all? You know, for having like this teenage daughter. I don't
Looked
know.
not like a mom. What do you mean?
Well, okay, so
Like not old enough?
yes. Yeah, because
See,
like
I thought that they were trying to strike a balance because of like not de-aging, right? But then when they go back in time, all of the teenage counselors are in their late 20s, early 30s, so they're actually older than
yeah,
the younger 2000s kids that come
yeah,
back, which I mean partially could be part of the spoofy commentary a little bit, because you know
sure.
they did have a lot of people that did not look anything like teenagers in those movies.
Yeah.
I just thought they were trying to hide that in plain sight by purposefully casting slightly older people to play those characters.
Oh, wait, because then like everyone would look the same age. So therefore it's like, oh, you would buy that they were actually the ages that they were playing, even though they all looked a lot older than what they should be.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right. So
So
what do you think about the rules? Or what were you gonna say?
no, I was just gonna say, to answer your question, yes, she
Okay. All right.
the aging was weird.
Yeah, it is. It is very weird. So what do you think about the rules that are set up after they get into the movie? Mike, it's so hard to talk about. The
Uh-huh.
movie inside the movie we're talking about. When they get there to the camp, what do
Yeah.
you think about the rules? Because there's certain things that get set up where it's like, you know, in every horror movie, there's the rules, the tropes or whatever, you know.
Hmm.
In this one, like they can go into flashbacks, for example. They have this kind of Groundhog Day situation where unless they do something right, it just keeps replaying, like it rewinds and then they have to do something. But it doesn't seem like I don't know like what the rules are other than like the slasher in the movie that's wearing the tiki mask has to kill everyone, every character that's in the movie, not the people that were transported into the movie. That's the only thing that I can that I can break down. But I don't understand the flashback stuff. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well,
Like,
let's go back. Let's reel this back just a second
okay.
here to the because there is a lot of stuff to unpack there.
Yeah, there's a
I
ton.
I felt like we started with one idea where if we don't go along with the movie, it can't move forward because they get caught in that like Elm Street 4 loop of, you
Yeah.
know, we gotta save Debbie. Give me your keys. Oh, okay. Hey, we gotta save Debbie. Give me your key. And they just can't get out of that for a second because they're not going along with the other characters to go to the camp. And that was a cool shot because they kept doing like this 360 pan where they'd try to run away from it, and then it would come back down the road, and then it back to them running, and then
Right. That was cool.
yeah, it was cool looking. But then as it goes on, they don't go along with the movie. So, huh?
Yeah.
Because
Because it's like you have to do certain things to get the story to go forward. But it just seems like they're fast, and the director or writer is fast and loose with this idea, because it just seems like, oh, the story's going forward and suddenly it stops because replay, like I'm like, why? Well, what do they have to do to get the movie going again? And it just doesn't seem like it's answered. Like, it just seems like, oh, because we want, like, I'm speaking from like the creation side, like, oh, okay, we'll just do this thing now. It just seems like it's nonchalant. There's not a lot of like thought into that, which could have been a really cool thing, to keep doing, and then them figuring out like what they have to do. But I don't think any of the characters figured out like what they were supposed to do. It just seemed like everything ended up happening the way that it should because it was random. And then Duncan, who actually knows the movie, who's like the dork, the horror nerd about this movie, doesn't explain anything like what would happen next, but also gets killed and is taken out of the movie relatively quickly. So there's like there's no like lifeboat for the rest of the team trying to figure this out. They're just going along with it, which also could have been a cool idea, but just done okay. Once again, like, I understand that this movie is supposed to be like a satire or parody or spoof or something, but it never lands any one of those things. It never goes like the distance, I don't think. So,
well, it also tries to have an emotional story with the mom and reconnecting their, so there is definitely a lot in the stew.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it starts off and it is like, oh, cool, this is kind of like a time loop thing where if they don't figure out how to escape the loop, they can't move forward, but then they just go along with it. And maybe that was the only point of it, was that no, you have to be characters in this movie. Okay, now you're characters in this movie, and for whatever reason, that could have been used in other ways, I feel. But like you said, it's like, well, we don't really know how to deal with that aspect of this, so let's just it's fine. Just moving on. Moving on. We're moving on.
We didn't think this far ahead, when we were writing this script, so we're just gonna wing it right now, and then like they also, like, later on in the movie, they talk about the final girl from the movie that they're in, and then like what I completely blanked, like, what happens with her, the girl who arrives in the Thunderbird.
Yeah,
she's got the black hair, kind of like this Joan Jett looking girl. Whatever happens to her?
Well, she dies in a horrible car crash. That's Paula, right? So
yeah,
Kurt,
Paula.
Who's like the '80s jock scumbag.
Adam Devine.
Yeah, the two of them.
I can't stand that guy.
What else do you know him from?
A lot of shows that I don't watch because he's in it. So like Workaholics, and then he was like he had this like Game Over Man movie on Netflix, and I just, him in general, I feel like his arrogance walks in front of his jokes, like, I just feel like that's his type of personality. Maybe it's me reading into it too much, but like, I don't know. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's a turnoff. This is just me, but I have some actors. There's only like 3 of them, and he's included in one where it's like I can't stand them, and I don't want to watch anything that they're in. So it's like him, Jared Leto, and Ruby Rose. I don't like the 3 of them, you know. So if they're in something, I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Probably not gonna watch it now, you know. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. But it's just a personal taste, you know.
Well, we
So
all have those people
yeah,
we decide to
you're for some
rail
reason, whatever
against.
may be, you're
Yeah.
on my shit list forever. You've done nothing to me, but I just don't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't like your face. And he has stupid
does
hair.
your face hurt?
Like,
well, it's killing me.
so the 2 of them get in a car and then crash in a fiery explosion, and then all bets are off.
I completely missed this.
Yeah, all bets are off. Well, he was in the scene, so you're probably rolling your eyes at the TV or something.
My brain's like, oh god, get me out of this mess.
But it's times like that that make it kind of confusing what we were talking about, because it felt like if the movie doesn't proceed how it's supposed to, they can't get out of the time loop. But then
exactly
all of this stuff starts going wrong, and they start trying to use the events of the movie against it, like to their own advantage, where it's like, okay, until she takes her clothes off, the one sex crazed Tina, I think her name was, the one sex crazed girl, it's like, okay, when she takes her clothes off, this is what's going to happen. So they orchestrate a situation where she can't take her clothes off and be sex crazy.
Yeah. But then she ODs on Ritalin or Adderall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she finds
just goes fucking bonkers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like that was like, that could have been like such a funny scenario, right? If they're trying to be quiet, right? Like, the killer's around. We're just trying to figure out what to do next. Let's all shut the fuck up and think about something. And then you have Tina, who's like, comes onto the scene being blown out on Adderall and just can't fucking sit still. That would be like really funny. That could have been like a very funny setup for like funny thing. Like, to me, that would be hilarious. Like, shut up. And like, but she can't, because like her body is just like going a million miles an hour because of the stimulant. That could have been really funny, but they're like, no, she just can't take off her clothes.
You know what I didn't like about the comedy in this is that I felt like it, and this is my problem with spoofs in general, is they usually aren't respectful to the thing that they're spoofing. So the comedy doesn't really come from how funny the situation is, right? It's like, look at how stupid these characters are. But the characters aren't stupid, they're just written that way. So they only have the intelligence that they're written with, which isn't much.
Right.
And I just feel like that's not enough. You know, we need a little bit more depth to this in order for there to be some genuine comedy coming from these situations.
I agree. That's something that I thought of when I was watching this, because I was thinking, like, who is this for? Like, what this movie, like, what fan is it for? You know? And I just felt like, because I was thinking, like, some of the stuff that they're bringing up could be really funny, because these tropes are like surface level bullshit that you see in horror movies all the time. And you could do like a lot of funny things with them. But there were a lot of moments where I'm like, this feels like it's kind of insulting if you're a fan of slashers in general.
Friday the 13th especially.
Yeah, the way that they're going about like setting up these characters. And I just thought that there could have been a better way to like really go in and like explore these concepts, or why that they are, and then exploit them to comedic value, you know? And it never does that because it's like, look at how dumb this thing is that you're watching, that you've been watching for so many years, that you're a fan of. Isn't it stupid? I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of rude, you know?
Well, and
I don't know. Like
here's a
it
perfect
makes you go,
example of
yeah.
that, right? Because at any time someone gets up there and acts like, this thing's stupid, but my shit doesn't stink, to me automatically exposes like the flaw here. It's like, don't cast the
Yes.
first stone kind of thing. Because, that like Chris, aka 2000s school guy, has a fight with 80s cool guy about,
Yeah.
but then in 2030s he's going to look just as uncool for the same reasons, because it's like, these attitudes just don't age well regardless of your intention. So
That's true.
you're kind of compromising your moral high ground in calling the other people out on the carpet in this manner.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, like how stuff is like woven in and out of each other. And then they have like a flashback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they go back one time and it's like, hey, how did Jason Voorhees become Jason Voorhees? They say it again in this movie.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
So the counselors prank this kid.
Yeah, by throwing fucking fireworks.
Dude, they threw like a whole bandolier of fireworks. Like, I know how to get him out of that out, because he was being picked on, so he ran into the outhouse. So the counselors are gonna like throw some firecrackers in there to scare him out. But it's not just like here's one or two. It's like here's an entire like bandolier.
Yeah, have at it. Like that would like blow up the bathroom, the outhouse that he was in.
that would literally blow up the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, and let alone like even if that kid survived, probably he would, but his eardrums would definitely be blown out with that many. Have you ever been in like a parade or something and someone releases those? Because they're always loud in a movie. You're like, Jesus. But being in front of them is like a different story. That's like some warfare shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did a machine gun just go off? Like.
Yeah. Hold on, I got the answer. Commits attempted murder. No wonder he's pissed off.
Yeah, I would be too. I would kill the whole. Never mind. No, maybe not. I'm not going to kill anybody. Just saying. And they're like, I'd kill the whole campground, but just in this movie. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
It's not for real. I'm talking about characters.
Right. Well, I think he's got kind of the same motivation as in that sense that Cropsey had in The Burning.
Yeah.
Okay, so they kind of had it coming, but just not in this manner.
Right. So yeah, they had the flashbacks, but here's one of the rules that they can do now. Is if they start talking about flashbacks, it changes their environment. And then I'm like, oh, this could be dope, right? Like, what are they going to do with these flashbacks? Nothing. They're not going to do a damn thing with these flashbacks, Well,
not until the plot requires it, and they use it to try and trap the killer in a flashback, which I thought was a good idea. It didn't work.
There's many good ideas in this movie. It's just there's many bad executions of those ideas. There's a lot of things that I think in different hands could have been like a very compelling movie that could have been like a satire of the slasher genre, as well as like being an interesting movie to watch, because you have so many of these elements that coming together would be very interesting. And I think a pleasure to watch, and the compelling part would be the story of like a loved one who passed away, and then that like reunion of sorts, but it's not exactly the same. Like, it's her mom for sure, but it's the character her mom played and not actually her mom. So that creates like an interesting dynamic that, if explored correctly, could be like, man, hit you right in the feels, you know?
Well,
And this
that
doesn't do.
stuff largely worked for me. The
Yeah.
the emotional stuff, but the jokiness kind of
Undercut it.
yeah. Yeah.
I feel like they could have gotten there. I think they could have had the best of both worlds had they taken their time with certain things, or just scrapped certain elements to concentrate on the interesting things, like the flashback shit. That's dumb. That didn't need to be in there. So, and they could have like used that time that would have allowed to do something else, or maybe spend some more time on setting up the jokes. The jokes would have been funnier, you know. But isn't it funny? Look how funny this is. It's funny, right? It's funny.
Yeah, and when you watch the credits, you kind of get a sense a lot of that was just riffing and improv too. So I think it probably skewed away from what was on the page to some extent,
Sure.
as certain,
Okay.
especially Adam Devine, because like he had a lot in the outtakes there, where he kind of just whatever it started as, he just ran in the other direction with it. And whether that works
Yeah.
for you or not is kind of irrelevant, but I think it goes with what you're saying there. When you work with certain actors, things do to kind of take on a life of their own.
Right. Yeah. And then, so we're getting closer to the finale, I guess. I mean, we can jump around. This fell flat to me, right?
We can
So
just
it's like,
flash back to earlier if we decide.
we'll just start talking about a flashback. That's because science.
What'd you think of that effect? I mean, everything was overly computery.
Yeah, I agree. It reminded me of something very specific when I saw it, but now I can't think of that. Actually, you know what it reminded me of? The KY jelly that was used in the Alien movies for like the dripping out of the mouth thing, but in large format.
In 3D.
Yeah. Was it supposed to be water?
I've never seen a flashback like that in a movie, so I just thought they were trying to do something with their own visual identity, where and try to take use of the fact that it's in 3D and the characters are in the movie, instead of transition like Wayne's World.
Yeah, that probably, like a dumb transition like the Wayne's World stuff, probably would have worked in this movie if you think about it. Like, I think that would have been like, oh, transition, or something. This movie was for 3D.
No, I'm saying they were trying to make use of the idea that the characters were in the world.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, if it was intentionally supposed to be 3D, that would explain a lot of the weird camera angles in like the last third of the movie, with like the knife going everywhere and the sliding under the machete, that stuff. Oh boy, we hit a sore spot.
I was just gonna say, like, I know you haven't done it because you're a little clumsy there. I mean, we've established this, right? You're not an athletic person.
I'm not. No. And I played a lot of sports. It's funny. I played a lot of sports, but I can't walk through a house without the idea of getting injured just by mere walking,
Have you ever tried to do the action movie slide?
Oh my God, I'd break kneecaps or ankles or whatever. Like, no way, no shot, dude.
The one time I tried, I really hurt my ankles because they just like folded in a strange way.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
So
yeah,
I'm sure there's a proper way to do it, and I'm actually kind of kicking myself because I was on a shoot the other weekend. We had a licensed stunt guy there.
Yeah,
I should have asked him about that because he would have had the correct answer. Like, what did I do wrong? But yeah, Max just does that instantly, and every time I see that, I have flashbacks to that. It's like, you never fucking tried to do that in your life.
Yeah.
And you can just do it all of a sudden, but...
Well, it's probably, she probably didn't even do it. She probably was already in that sitting position and they rolled a camera by her. You know, like I think she was still, and the camera was moving. I don't think she was sliding across the view of the camera. Yeah. I mean, that's how I would, if I was in like a movie and they're like, yeah, can you do that slide that you see in other movies? Be like, absolutely not. But what you can do is we can fake it and you can just roll a camera by me as I'm already in that position. But there's no shot that I will be running and then do that slide for you.
We'll just put you on one of those creepers that they use to change the oil. You can just kneel on that. We'll just get a running start. Just throw you past the camera.
Yeah, put me on a bungee cord. Attach that front of that rolling thing to a bungee cord and just let me fly. You know, that'll work.
What did you think about the speaking of the ending battle there? I really liked the look. It is very Stranger Things, and I think this might predate Stranger Things by a year, or maybe they came out the same year because this was 2015.
Okay. God, Stranger Things has been that long now?
Yeah, it kind of has.
Fuck, man. God.
2018 was 4 years ago. I mean, I was just talking to someone about like a movie that came out in 2018 like it was yesterday. Because it still feels like yesterday and it was fucking 24 years ago.
Yeah. What movie were you talking about?
The Predator, because Prey, the new Predator movie's trailer came out today.
4 years since Predator.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wait, Prey came out today?
The trailer.
Oh, the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God. I was like, oh shit.
The movie comes out in August.
Okay. All right.
So
I'm looking forward to it. Anyways,
I like the look of it. Was the reason it was a storm because the movie was breaking down, like the fabric of reality was breaking down so hard, or?
That seems like an interesting observation. I don't think so. I think they're just like, it's dark, lightning, we need it. Horror movie. You know, like I think it's like that. I don't think it's like meta, like what you're talking about, which would have been like something out of like Last Action Hero, where it's like, oh, this is cool, which I think did the movie in a movie perfectly, you know, but this one didn't. Yeah, no, I don't think I don't think like, yeah, the movie's breaking down. No, I just think it's like, hey, it's night. Hey, there's lightning. Well, because it's not explained.
We've already pushed this CG stuff way too far. Why not?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. The lightning. There was a couple just white frames in there to add, you know, to add to the lightning effects, which I don't like. Just make the lightning effects in the movie, or don't do them at all. You know, that would the movie breaking down though would explain like the pink and purple clouds, though.
Yeah,
it would. But like, I think that's us being kind of smart, you know, and being like, yeah, that's like what could happen. I don't think that that's what their intention was, though, for this movie.
I want to believe that it was, but you're probably right. What I will say though is like right before that is and this is where they kind of lost me, was because the emotional thread mostly worked for me between the daughter and the mother, between Max and Amanda, and then when she just like runs off to like, I don't know, take her top off there because sex brings the killer. I really wanted her to have like that hero's death where like her sacrifice felt like it meant something, instead of, because you know she was sacrificing herself so that Max had a shot, but just the way that they did it was like, I'm just gonna run off and be stupid, but let me do this because it's my character's nature, instead of like, let me be better than my character. Like, I'll still fulfill the same function, but I am now better than my character because she snapped her out of it. That would have had a lot more weight for me.
We are on the exact same page, and I'm glad you said it because you're much more eloquent than I am. But I was thinking like, hey, she should have attacked the killer instead of doing a striptease and getting stabbed in the back. Like, that's so lame to me. Like, and especially for like that character becoming more than a character, right? because obviously like Max sees her mom in this character, but then over the course of the movie, that character actually becomes someone with like hopes and dreams and all this other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to just kind of like quickly knife her in the back. Yeah, like, and she could have been an almost final girl, which I think would have been like more poetic than, like, I don't know. It just seemed like there's so many instances in this movie where they could have like hit it out of the park, right? In these scenarios. And they just kind of, I don't know, asleep behind the wheel, doing whatever they want. Like it almost seemed like it was like that's too much effort, so we can't do a full measure, So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
I suppose what you're saying kind of sounds like a lack of confidence, right? Where like they didn't commit to the emotional stuff because they thought the the jokey stuff was what was going to keep people on board, or
Yes.
that could also be just the committee thinking as well of you're caught up in the hurricane of the spoofiness, and
Right.
then you sort of unintentionally downplay the other stuff. It's hard to say because you never know what the
Yeah.
limitations were.
No,
We're
I think like what you just said is like the reason I don't like this movie is that in kind of like every front, they never go the distance, right? So it's like even from like a PG-13 rating, it's like obviously with a PG-13 rating, they're not going to get into like the blood and guts of most slasher movies, you know? But then they also don't go into like great lengths to refine the comedy, or then they don't go. I thought like you liked the relationship, but I thought that could have been pushed further, So it's like they're getting there, but they never cross the finish line with any one of their ideas,
mm-hmm.
And it's like that with most of the stuff. Most of the elements in this movie is what they never get there. That's the problem that I have. Is like you're getting close to the line, and then you back away, And if you see that enough times in a movie, like how I felt watching this, it just kind of becomes grating and predictable, and now you're in the unmemorable zone, So
the unmemorable zone.
Yeah, that's really harsh, but it's like I probably won't think about this movie again. you know, I
Well,
thanks for the screen pass too, by the way, so I didn't have to spend moolah on this. But yeah, it's like it's a pretty forgettable movie. Like for example, like I compared this to Fear Fest or not Fear Fest, Fear Street. I still think about Fear Street. Yeah, I still think about Fear Street, and it's been a few months, at least like 6 months since I've seen it. Like it's great.
This See, one, I don't.
Really? Interesting. Why is that?
I didn't dislike Fear Street, but I also felt like it was kind of not disrespectful of the movies that shoulders it was standing on, but it definitely took that for granted somehow. Okay. And I don't know, maybe I just do feel like it didn't pay it enough respect. It's just, oh, we're going to use the things from Scream wholesale, and we're going to use these other things wholesale, without really acknowledging those in other than it's just, oh, that's there. We're just going to appropriate that. I think that's kind of what bugged me about that on the whole. But not that I disliked it.
Okay.
I did mostly enjoy it. I remember watching it too, like especially that first part. It's like, man, like this music really sounds like Scream. Like they did a really good job with the sound alike. And then you see music by Marco Beltrami, like
Oh,
who
okay.
did the score for Scream. It's like, oh well, of course.
No, yeah.
Like he just forgot how to make that kind of music. No.
So,
Once the movie actually breaks down, right? Yeah, so
mhm,
they're in the unforgettable zone for you. So
yeah,
I think at this point in the story they're in the rating zone because the credits go up, and I like the way that they did that, where it's like back behind the trees, and then the film actually does break down because it ends and they're in the, like, this movie's been rated by the
yeah,
things that used to be at the end of videotapes that nobody understands are there anymore.
yeah, right, right.
So what what happens then? Because then they wake up in the hospital,
Yeah,
which is kind of a fake out, but they're really in the sequel.
yeah. They're not in the hospital. They're just because it's a double feature, right? It was 1 and 2 of the camp
Oh, that's
movies.
why.
Yeah. So once again, proves my point. This movie's half measure.
Well,
So
here's
they
what I
never
was
made it to the
thinking.
sequel.
Well, here's what
Yeah.
I was thinking, right? If that theater was burning down,
Yes.
like, are their bodies just unconscious on the floor in the back room? Like, did they just run through and just, like, the body just drops, falls on the floor, but then there's spirits in the movie? Because if so, they're still trapped in that theater, breathing in
Yes.
burning smoke.
Yeah.
But
Well,
let's
with all of their friends and possibly family members burning alive while they're trancing around in a 80s slasher movie.
but that was the weird thing that I was left with is, what do they have if they're trapped in the movie? What do they have to get back to? Because if the sequel has started playing, then they put out the fire, and the movie's still going this whole time,
Yeah.
right?
I don't understand the rules at this point because of like, oh, we're in the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. So how do you get to one move from one movie to the next? Like you jump literally onto the next film reel, like
See,
see what I mean?
I think they're trapped in whatever's playing on the screen. So tomorrow when they play
Oh, like
Showgirls,
okay, yeah, and
or
then they got to be in Vegas doing stripper stuff, right? Or
yeah,
like, Forrest Gump could be playing, and like one of them's Jenny, like that. Yeah,
yeah. But in order for that to work, the movie still has to be playing, which either means it's still rolling while the fire department's trying to put the theater out for.
yeah. Somebody stop the damn film. We got to put this fire out. You know,
Well, I mean, the building would have
why is
been
this movie
evacuated at
playing?
that point, yeah.
Yeah,
But then that's the other weird thing is if they manage to escape out of the screen, what do they have to go back to? A building that's on fire,
yeah,
or a building that's collapsed in rubble.
right.
There.
Now, okay, okay. Here we go. If the screen's destroyed completely,
Mm-hmm.
can they make it out of the movie? Because
No.
yeah. So they have a limited time, right? Theoretically, we're just throwing theories out there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, they'd be running out of time to get back to the real world, the really real world, you know? Yeah. Hey, here's some more questions I had that will never be answered because it's not in the movie. Yeah, like once again, like you could have had some interesting things. Here's what I thought would have been really cool, right? So it's like obviously the movie theater is burning, right? But what if like throughout the course of the movie, random shit just started catching on fire for no reason, right? They like walk by a bookshelf and then like one book is burning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like this kitchen table catches on fire, but it's like it's because like the movie theater is actually like getting hotter and hotter, so it's like affecting the film
Yeah.
and like adding shit into it, you know? So it's
right.
like, and as you go, the fire's just getting bigger and bigger and like consuming more shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that would have been a cool idea.
Till the whole world's on fire.
Yeah.
And then you have your showdown with the murderer in the red
but it
sky
could be
field.
like, it could have been in like a cornfield or in a field like they had it, but it's just fucking fire all around them.
Well, I mean, careful what you wish for because of the level of CG that we saw. I don't think the artistry would have been quite there to convincingly pull that off. I think it would have looked pretty video gamey.
Yeah.
It would have looked kind of gamey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know we just spent the last hour just totally trashing this. I didn't hate it. Yeah, I was just
did.
Oh, yeah,
I was letting that hate flow through me. So I'm glad you didn't hate it and that you enjoyed it on some level.
Well, here's why, right? Because when I watch a movie, I don't ever try to dissect it while I'm watching it. It's you bought the ticket, take the ride, you know. So I watch it, the credits roll, like, yeah, that was all right. The next day, the day after, that's when I'm thinking about things, right? That's when you start pulling on those threads and things start to unravel.
Yeah.
So a movie has to be like almost senses shatteringly bad for me to dislike it while I'm watching it. Because for the most part, the only capital offense a movie can commit is that it's just boring. For the most part.
Yes.
Or really condescending or insulting or, you know, whatever.
Pretentious.
Pretentious, sure. That one will get me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, I kind of just went along with it and tried to appreciate it for what it was. And I mean, there are certain things where it's like, it's a little strange. But, you know, like the striptease on Adderall.
Yeah.
I was just like, did they not have the music she's supposed to be dancing to?
Yeah, because like Cherry Pie or something.
This doesn't match.
Yeah.
It just didn't match at all. Or was it just bad editing? Which, I mean, you see that sometimes in music videos where they'll just take something where the guitar player did something cool, but he's playing the wrong part of the song, but they're like, people won't fucking notice that. Right. They don't know how to play instruments. It's
I feel like that's every music video from the 80s and 90s if it had to do with the rock band. They're just like, or hair metal, like, smile, you know? Like, I'm doing things.
Yeah.
I'm doing these things. See, yeah, I bought the ticket, but the ride stopped while I was upside down, you know, and then there was like an error and they had to bring in people and like get me off the roller coaster, and it was just a whole ordeal. You know, that's how I felt like watching this.
So that's how you missed the car crash with Paula, is that
dude, I have
the attendants were getting you off the ride at that point.
I think my brain was like, okay, we've had enough. We are shutting you down. Like, I really have I have no recollection of the car crash.
You know, for a movie that
I was eating a sub at the time as well. So I could have been like so into the sub.
Yeah. Wish I was still eating it right now. You know, for a movie that tries to subvert tropes, I feel like the character that Paula was, because she was supposed to be the final girl, is never the final girl in these movies.
Yeah.
Never. It's never the cool person with, like, I don't know. Like, were they... No, they just...
Right. Man, I don't know. I don't know about this movie. I wish I could be like, yeah, it's okay. I wish I could be like more objective, but I got to a point where this movie I felt insulted me, and then I can't have any of that. You know, you're not going to insult me. Not in this town, sir. No way. Anyways, yeah, I guess you can go watch it if you want. I don't recommend it. I'm gonna be forgetting about this conversation. Our listeners are gonna be like, "Yeah, remember what you said about that movie in
Oh
that one
man,
episode?" I'd be like, "What are you fucking talking about?"
no, this will be great if this is Knives Out all over again, where it's
Dude,
like a
listen,
movie that's like really popular, but then you
man,
you didn't
listen.
like it, so you get a lot of pushback for it.
Dude, I got a lot. Let's just talk about this for a minute because I have like opinions on like a lot of like new stuff that's been coming out. And like, I didn't like Knives Out, and people are like, "Oh, okay." And then I didn't like Ready or Not, and people are like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And now I'm getting to a point where, because I liked Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I feel like I'm in this weird state where I shouldn't say some of my opinions because, like, I feel like I could just be invalidated and written off as like someone that no one should listen to, you
Yeah,
know?
or
Because like that's why
that
I have not made a public thing about Scream, a public opinion about Scream 6, 5, whatever the fuck we're on. What
not
number are we on now?
not
That's the
Scream
problem.
5.
Is it Scream 5? Is it 6?
No, it was Scream 5.
The last one was Scream 5.
Yeah, they're making Scream
Okay.
6.
Okay. Sans Nev Campbell. So but yeah, I mean, I'll just say it. Scream was the 5th time around the block to the same story. You know? It's fine. It was a decent movie, but if it blows my mind. I'm happy that everyone's so excited about Scream. Good. Be into what you love. I'm just surprised that Halloween Kills got so much pushback, which it provided something different. And then Scream 5 is like, wow, this movie is amazing. And it's the second, third, fourth, and fifth movies. They're all the same. So it was executed greatly, but that ship has sailed with me, unfortunately.
You know what I like to see?
Yeah.
Is that people are just really passionate talking about horror right now, regardless of what the take on it is.
Yes. That's kind of why I don't want to bring these things up, right? Is people are invested into these things, and they should be. I'm not gonna shit on people for saying that they like Scream 5.
No, I just think it's awesome where it's like, hey, remember 5 weeks ago when Texas Chainsaw came out? How mad everyone was about that, and how quickly it all moved on. Yeah. But think about it though. I mean, some of the movies you just rattled off, like Halloween Kills, Scream, Texas Chainsaw. I mean, that's 3 pretty big heavy hitter movies that a lot of people were all talking about. They were blowing up social media for a good like 4 months, really. And that's actually really cool to see, especially as a fan of horror movies.
I 100% agree. It's like we're in this like great resurgence and revitalization of these franchises where I think a lot of the people making the movies or putting the money behind making these movies had thought that there's no more interest in them. It's awesome to have that reversal, and now you're seeing like, this gravity of these movies like producing other things, like we talked about Prey, that's coming out. There's an alien movie, a new alien movie, and a new alien series in the works. There's I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I guess is a pretty shitty show, but whatever. It's like, and Hellraiser. There's a new Hellraiser show coming out. There's also the Chucky one. Like, you have all of these things now from the 80s that are coming back like full force, and I love it. I want to see it all, but sometimes just gonna throw it out there. Scream was one of those things, but I just don't want to shit on people for liking it.
But I just did. But I don't want to. But I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well, I don't think people are dumb.
Just gotta slide that one right in across the plate there.
I know.
Well, I think we broke the film on this one. I don't think it quite lives up to the hype for me, with especially with, because there was a lot of positive buzz around it, and so I blind bought it. Yeah, I'll probably watch it again at some point. It's fine. It was a movie. Do I think it's anything amazing? Nah.
That's very nice of you. We'll leave it at that. Like, You know, it's
Okay.
good. No, everything leading up to actually watching this movie, I'm like, yeah, I was pretty excited to watch it because it just seemed like everything was like leading up to something that I really appreciate and like. And but unfortunately, it didn't land the plane for me, you know. But you know, that's movie watching, right? Sometimes you're all in, sometimes like you just can't get on board, you know.
Yeah.
So
I bet too. I mean, like with Halloween Kills, there were a lot of times where, because I talked, some of the people I talked to who hated it were the people that watched it on Peacock, right? So like
interesting.
they
Okay.
would rail against like Big John and Little John, like those, specifically those characters, for whatever
I thought
reason.
they were great.
I saw it in the theater twice, and it killed both times in the theater. But I can totally see if I was sitting there watching it in my house just by myself the first time, would I think it's funny? I don't know, because sometimes that audience experience is infectious, and you know,
Yeah.
I could see this being one of those movies where maybe if you saw it with the right crowd, you might have had a better time, or maybe not. We'll never know because we'll probably never see it in the theater, especially because it's been out since 2015. But
7 years. 7
uh,
years old.
yeah, check it out. Maybe you'll like
Yeah.
it. Matt didn't.
Yeah. I didn't. But don't listen to me. My opinions don't mean shit. Don't listen to me, you know? And like, you know, leave the hate mail aside. You can
Oh, that's
delete that. Just
that's a great segue. That's a great segue.
Here.
Don't
Yeah,
listen to me, but you can subscribe to us here.
Yeah. I think some people just like watching me get into hot water and then having to defend myself for weeks on end, you know? That's what I think. So
that's what I got out of it.
Well, and now we have a comment section for you to tell me how wrong I am in real time. So
oh well,
I'll be there. You know, give us a like and a follow on our social media platforms. You can find us at Post Credits Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel as well. New content every week on Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, new episodes. We'll see you next week.
Yep.